Meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Brew,
Here.
Mr. Babalani, Dr. Hayes,
Here.
Mr. Menegini.
Here.
Mr. Pop.
Here. Approval of minutes of the regular meeting of January 9th, 2017. Any corrections or additions? We do have a corrected copy. If not, we need a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of January 9th, 2017.
Support.
Dr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini.
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew.
Yes.
Approval of manifest 2017-2. I was going to do that. Next.
Excuse Mark.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Any questions on the bill? Lee, any questions?
I got two here. Page 5, under electrical, almost halfway down. Electric heater for hydro substation, what's the deal on that, Ray, do you know?
I'll have to double check as to the reason for the purchase.
Okay. And one other item here on page 2, just about at the bottom of the general fund, third up from the bottom, Beatles Engineering, I don't know if it's I or one combustion tube, flame rod sealer lab, LABO for $355. What is?
The heating system in the DPW was put together, installed with Beatles, and they come in and we have repairs on that on a periodic basis. So I'm sure they're fixing the.
Okay, that has nothing to do with our contract with, was it Best Heating?
No.
Oh.
This is a system that's in the DPW specifically for that building.
Okay, that's all I have.
Ms. Bruin?
Yeah, I have a couple. Let's see. On page 1, I was wondering, the Menominee County News, did we have to put in that same thing that we put into the Iron Mountain News, Mary, for the sewer and?
No, we only had to put those in the Iron Mountain paper. We only had to publish them once.
Okay, so we have a couple.
I think those are all back bills, aren't they,
Some
Trish?
of these were old.
They're all back
She had
old?
sent us an invoice that hadn't been paid. I think some of these were actually from May.
Okay. And then I was going down too on that same page, the Luft advertiser, $920.
Jim contracts with them for his assessment notices. They print them, mail them.
Okay.
I think this is the second year he's done that, and it's a lot cheaper than doing it in-house.
Okay. That's all I have.
Mr. Pop, any questions?
Yeah, page 6 of 8, I have the state of Michigan, the OSHA penalty fee. I know it's in here, but my question is, when did this happen and why are we just learning about it now? As I, laid out in the executive memo, we had some questions over the summer, and then in October, we had a fit test that was performed, and there were some arguments over the validity of the fit test, and then the OSHA inspector came in on a call, so we were dealing with that issue, and there was some disagreement as to, who was right and who was wrong on the fit test. That's really what it came down to. There wasn't a definitive description or explanation from the OSHA inspector when he left. Wasn't sure what his determination would be. Felt pretty comfortable in the interview, and he, looked at the situation and went down to the plant. We didn't hear until October or December, late December, we got the notice. And so as I laid out what our, what the recommendations were in the notice, if you notice, it was just refit tests, and it was basically which mask we were using. We were
Was
testing.
this a random testing from OSHA?
No,
Or was
no, there was
OSHA
a, there was
notified?
a complaint that was made, about, something unrelated, and to utilize a half mask. And in order to issue a half mask, we have to do fit testing. We didn't do fit testing before. So that's where we got into the discussions. Then when we started looking at it, and looking at the, operation, and on one of the MSDS, it actually switched from a half mask to a full mask to an SCBA situation. And so then there became a disagreement on what was required. And, you know, I had to make a couple calls on it, and I had a fit test, and then there was a disagreement on the test, and so it was months and months of going back and forth. And so actually the OSHA inspection was kind of a relief, because it kind of put that issue to bed.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
Need a motion to approve the manifest?
I'll make a motion to approve manifest 2017-02 in amount of $249,922.25.
Support.
Mr. Minigini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Dr. Hayes.
Yes. Need a motion to excuse Mr. Babalani?
I'll make a motion, we excuse Mr. Babalani.
Support.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Dr. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Minigini.
Yes.
Anybody in the audience have any questions on today's agenda? If not, we'll have a time at the end of the meeting for questions on general matters. Next on the agenda is the Jake Mengini Museum Board.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have, as we mentioned in December, we had an open seat on the Jake Mengini Museum Board. We did get 2 applications. It's been the practice of the council to have the applications and the recommendations of the museum board come from the board. So we sent the applications to the museum board. Last week they had a meeting, and their interest is to have both candidates, both individuals interested, stay involved. But of course, if you have one seat, 2 people, they have to make a recommendation. So our 2 interested individuals are Mr. Mike Shallow and Ms. Shirley Foisey. And so they're recommending appointing Mr. Shallow to the board, and I believe, Ms. Foisey, you're going to be involved in some of the partnership and some of the other aspects, so you stay involved. Yeah. So that's their recommendation. Of course, it's at the pleasure of the council, but that's what they recommend at this point.
Is there a motion from the council?
I'll make the motion that Mike Shallow be appointed for a 3-year term expiring in January of 2020.
Support.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Dr. Hayes.
Abstain?
Mr. Minigini.
Yes.
Mr. Pop.
Yes.
Next on the agenda is Resolution 2017-1, General Utility and Service Rate Resolution for fiscal year 2016-17, Revision 1.
The resolution is formalizing the discussions we had in December, or actually it was all the way back to October, forward to December, and this was in order to be able to go to bid and actually close our loan, which we closed on December 29th for the water and sewer project. As I mentioned, not only in your report, but in a newsletter that was sent out, that because of the interest rates that we received on closing that loan, we were able to make the increase on the sewer side quite a bit less.
Decrease.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Increase is less than what we had originally proposed, because the rates were better. So what we have in the resolution is in adding those new rates to the resolution under the water and the sewer, which is the $3 per thousand on the ready-to-serve fee or the meter charge, and then adding $1 to each each commodity rate for water and for sewer. We've also included, and that's why we have I had to add on this particular resolution, a LED streetlight charge. We're getting more requests for security lights for LEDs, so we've worked up a number. So it's a $3 decrease off of our charge if an LED security light or street light is put in. So you see the rev in there for both the security light in the city and security light in the township. And then lastly, we did include or add a new package in the cable for the internet. It's a 100 meg package, tier IR5 and IC5. Basically, it increases from tier 4 to tier 5 is $20 per month. So we added those two new rates into the internet.
Is that the only rate change, Ben?
Yes.
So there's nothing more on the phone or anything else?
No. There was no other recommended changes at this point.
And then what about the meters?
On the water and the sewer?
Yeah,
Yeah, they're going up by $3.
okay, that was the only,
Yeah, that's the only change. And we show the meter charge, it goes by size and proportion then. So the first one, it goes up to 3 and then it goes by proportion.
so that's why that was in bold?
That's in bold, yeah.
Them are the only ones that change, okay, I was under the understanding that they all went up.
They do, they're all the way down that column, under Rev 1.
Under where?
See, if you go to sewer, and you could go
Yeah,
to water as
I
well.
understand under that, but I'm talking about the, cable.
Oh, no, we didn't, we're not making any recommended changes on any other utilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other one was the one we had to do to get,
This is what you had already actually approved it, but this is formalizing within this resolution.
Had the rates gone up as the first of the year to the old rate?
This is the rate that would be applied as of the first of the year. We have not applied them through December. We said we were gonna wait till after the
First
bond
of
was
the year,
closed.
okay,
Yeah.
that was my question.
Correct. You won't see it to your February bill, but it'll be for January usage.
And I'd like to reiterate again that by getting this done before the first of the year, in the long haul, by closing these loans, and we'll be able to cut back on the sewer a little bit, that in the 40-year program, we can save $1.6 million because we closed the loan before the first of the year with interest rates going up.
Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2017-1?
I make a motion to approve resolution 2017-1.
I'll support.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
yes.
Item 8, approval of the Water Electric Department Inductive Automation Mobile App. Mr. Anderson.
The inductive automation program is the program that we use for our SCADA system for both the water and the hydro. And I was approached by both the water department and the electric department that right now they can work with the equipment online with the laptop, under the program on the laptop. They have a request that they get a mobile app applied to or installed on a laptop, or not a laptop, but a tablet or phone, either one. This way that they can deal with it without having to carry around the laptop. So if they're out and they're on call, but they're out and about, if a call comes in, they're not having to find a spot to get in, to open up the laptop. They can actually work right there. They can deal with it. It's
Smartphone or?
smartphone, yeah, it would be like a laptop, or not, a tablet, or, your smartphone. To install this app and to get it running is cost of $3,300, $3,301.84. So this would be split between the water and the electric department. It's up to council. They would be okay with moving forward with that.
Would that be a time-saving device, Ray?
I believe it would be, depending on when the call comes in. I think it's quicker to work off of a tablet and a phone as opposed to opening up the laptop, having room, you know, to work on it. I mean, they can actually, a lot of their calls they can deal with right there when they're called up. I mean, they could be out for dinner at 6 o'clock and a call comes in, you know, where they don't have to lug around a laptop with them. They could have it right on their phone or a tablet right there with them and deal with it. So I think there's some level of safety within it too.
Well, and I'd imagine too that if you're someplace that don't have internet and you have a laptop,
Yeah, you have to have
you can't get Wi-Fi where you
can't.
can get it on a phone.
yes, and now, and I think the phone is a big one. You can do it on a tablet, but the tablet needs Wi-Fi as well, so probably the phones are gonna be used.
No, is this gonna be on the city's phone that we're providing, or is it their own
There's a
personal phone?
city-provided phone. It'll be on
And
a
that's-
city-provided phone.
That's got the Wi-Fi?
Right, if they put it on their own phone, I mean, there's gonna have to be an agreement and everything else.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying, they're probably gonna want, you know,
Yeah, but they have to carry the pager phone anyway. You know, we have a separate call phone anyway.
and that's you can put
Yeah,
apps on it, okay.
And can you connect to the Wi-Fi off of that phone?
yes.
You can.
It has data.
Any other questions, or we need a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the water electric department for the automation mobile app.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes,
Mrs. Brew?
Yes,
Dr. Hayes?
Yes. Next is the extension of the water tax deadline, or winter tax deadline. We do this every year. I'm not sure why we do it every year. We should,
I think you skipped
you
one there,
skipped one,
Doc.
Doc.
oh. Okay, the Norway Area Compost Site Agreement. Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, this is something we've been working on for this past year. I've actually had it in the township's hands for about 6 months. They've been back and forth with some language discussions, and now we're right at the final stages, and I'd like to ask council to move forward. Main part of the agreement is that the shared costs would be at 50% shared costs, and the township is still under discussion, but I think from our standpoint, move forward, agree to it. I don't know, Grant, if you have anything you want to talk to about the language, but I think the language is, we've kind of gone through, and it's pretty boilerplate, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, not extensively, Ray. It's a relatively simplified agreement that I've been working back and forth with the township attorney on. This has gone back and forth. It's only a couple-page document, but yet we've gone back and forth. And I don't know if some of the turnover there maybe has slowed things down as far as getting the final approval or the final go-ahead, but this has been done on our end for some time now. And once it's done, and then it came back again with some more requests for very simple revisions, and it's very neutral agreement that's pretty straightforward. Nothing. Both sides wanted to keep it straightforward and work as a good partnership for the compost agreement for the citizens of the township and the city, and be able to provide an opportunity for the citizens of both areas to have a place to bring compost and have that access versus illegally dumping or alternative means. So it was just kept it as straightforward as we could and simple as we could, and I think it accomplishes that. And I would echo Ray's agreement. It makes sense to go ahead and approve it.
If the township doesn't go along with this, from what I understand, they will. But if they don't, then when compost season starts, I would assume we would need a camera out there pretty big time.
We need to do something.
I was going to ask to bring that up at the next meeting anyway, so why don't we put cameras on the agenda for the next meeting? But I think we need to pass this tonight. Is there anyone going to make a motion to accept this agreement?
I'll make a motion that the attached Norway area compost agreement be approved with the 50% shared costs.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Doc, before you go on, can I say something to Tricia? Tricia, in the motion that I made on that app, I didn't add the price not to exceed $3,301.84. Sorry about that.
Okay, it's added.
Is that agreement with you? You made the second. Next, we'll have the extension of the winter tax deadline. Again, we do this every year. Is there some way we could do it so it's permanently
I think
extended?
it's in the charter. Isn't it in the charter?
I believe it's in the charter, the due date, but we talked one year about doing it in November. If we did it in November before the bills go out, then we could have the bills printed with the February 28th due date. We still have to do the extension, but if we did it in November, then when the bills came out, you know, it would already be on the bills. Because when the bills are printed now, it has the February 15th deadline.
Oh, we'll have to remember to put it on the agenda for first meeting in November then.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the only way. We'd still have to do it because it's in the charter. But we could do it earlier if that's what the council would like.
I make a motion to change the payment deadline from February 17th, 2017 to February 28th, 2017.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Next on the agenda is approval of stormwater assessment management wastewater SAW grant distribution number 1.
Okay, as we talked about a few months ago, or a month ago or so, when we received and accepted the stormwater asset management wastewater grant, SAW grant, that there were going to be some costs that we would entertain this spring, and then, but a majority of the project is going to happen after fiscal year starts July 1st, 17, and go for a couple years. This particular request is basically for equipment, the computer equipment, and some labor. So the total for the request is $37,891.80. Remember that 90% of that is reimbursed through the grant, which would be $34,102 of reimbursement. Our local share is $3,789.18. Scott Nowak is here from Coleman, if you have any specific questions on where we're going.
It was $42,100 in cost, and $4,210 in match.
Did I have a different?
That's the grant amount. The total cost for this month would be $42,102, the $4,200 is the city share, and then $37,891 would come from Michigan DEP.
Okay, so on the second page, that was the grant amount, not the total.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. Total reimbursement amount this month. Yeah, I'm here to answer any questions you have about the reimbursement process. It does go very smoothly. Typically, we do not bring these in front of councils.
Except for the understanding of the paperwork. I guess in the future, we have to clarify that, because I guess what you're asking for, the $37,891, you're just, the approval of reimbursement, disbursement is just the grant.
I don't know if I understood that question properly.
Okay, well, the total is, we'll just change the total docs.
Typically, how these work, once a month, gather all the bills together. In this case, the vast majority of it is Empower GIS software, $36,000 of that. Gather all the bills, this includes some home engineering bills in there. I usually put this packet together, send it over to Ray. He signs it, it goes down to the DEQ. Separate to that, you just do your normal bill approval process. It takes about a week. Payments come on Thursday, as electronic deposit, the money hits the city's account straight then. It is not a paid and then reimbursed situation, so one of the other nice things, the city does not have to spend $36,000 out of pocket. They can request the money, DEQ will forward that money to you, and then you can send the bill out. Other than that, like I said, just here to answer any questions about the process you guys might have. You know, and I know I talked quite a while back about SAW in general and our plans, maybe I'll give you a little bit about that. Of course, there is several $1,000s in Pullman bills in here. We did do a lot of preliminary GIS base work, I'll call it a little bit of field work, GPS, a lot of in the office kind of work. Met with Dave Wall, went through the sewer plant, got some sewer televising video, worked with some mapping stuff, some various GIS components, got all your as-bills that we could gather together, got them scanned in, so some of those winter work items is what we did. We have not really started work in earnest.
Not that it makes a difference, Ray, but didn't Iron Mountain just get one of these?
They've been working on it for about a year and a half,
That one?
2 years? Yeah.
2 years? Oh, okay. I thought I saw something in the paper not too long ago on.
Yeah, that's Coleman Engineering as well, in Kingston.
Okay.
Actually, we're
Oh.
drawing them. To speak a little bit about that, it is a 3-year grant process. It takes 3 years to get this done. You know, reality, it's a lot of field work. It's about 2 years of full field time to get every manhole in town, get the pipes inspected, sewer televising completed. There's smoke testing involved in here, if anybody has questions with that, is come sometime next
And
year.
every lateral, they'll do smoke testing?
We test every main, so it sends smoke up every single lateral in town.
That'll go up the laterals.
Yeah. But, that's a fun process. Find a lot of problems in all reality. I don't know, I don't remember offhand, I think we have 100,000 feet of sewer televising in this grant. 120,000 feet planned. It is both sanitary sewer and stormwater. Both of those are under 90-10 grant split for you guys, so it doesn't take me to speak a ton about that, but, we are doing all the storm sewer and sanitary sewer mapping, both of those, televising, any other testing that we can come up with being necessary along the way.
Okay, so what's the actual figure you need for the motion there then, Ray?
Well, I think when you're asking for the disbursement request, you're just talking about the 90% then? Or are you asking for the total payment? The disbursement request is the $37,891.80. The total that will be paid is $42,102.
Correct.
The remaining $4,200 is local share. I misunderstood your final number for a request as the total.
Nobody likes the DEQ format. And that's what that comes from.
I'm here, I agree.
I can list a lot of city managers in the city board. And I apologize about that, I was sick all last week, I didn't intend to come and go over that with you, never made it.
Any other questions from the council? Otherwise, we need a motion to approve the pay.
I'll make a motion that the SAW grant disbursement number 1 request be approved for $42,000, not more than $42,102.
Support.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes?
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Next, item number 12, approval of demolition contracts for 1107 Railroad Avenue.
Okay, in order to move forward with demolition, we needed to get an inspection done of the building. We did go out and get a demolition contract, but not knowing what the inspection would cost or entail, we didn't put that part in the demolition. And it's not uncommon, a lot of in fact, when the city hall was demolished, we did the same thing. We had a separate contract for the inspection, that's for asbestos and lead. We do the inspection, and then there's an abatement where they come in, and then the demolition goes through after the abatement. So I had Pearson and Asbestos come in. Their inspection cost was $1,668 to do that inspection. And I did, you see, I gave you, they called today, or they sent me the actual quote for the abatement was $3,996. So the demolition is $8,965, and that was Scott Moran. We did bid that out, and he was actually the only bidder on the project. So the total is $14,629 for the demolition, the inspection to get that DEQ demolition permit, and also the abatement. There is some asbestos in the building, which would have to be abated, but it's not, it's not all over the building. There's certain facets that have to go in and be taken out. Caulking on the windows. There's some pipe wrap, some things that they can go in and take it out. That way it'll actually be cheaper in the long run, because then a demolition contractor doesn't have to specially dispose of the demolition.
Would it have been less expensive to have Habitat Humanity do the demolition?
Yes and no. If Habitat were able to get a grant for demolition, they've had troubles. I've talked to them, and it's taken them numerous years, multiple years, in order to come up with the funding for it. I talked to them about the process of whether or not they should just handle it, or whether we should take care of it and then sell them the clean property. They're actually planning to put 2 homes on the property. They can actually get their grants quicker on
Construction.
construction vacant land. So we'll deal with it as 2 separate parcels. I think that's the way they'd like to deal with it. So then they can do it with 2 separate grants. So I think that we'll come pretty close to getting our money back based on that.
Well, one thing I learned about this, talking earlier this morning with Ray, I never realized that there was asbestos in, where is it here? Second floor windows with asbestos containing glazing. I never realized that before, that in the
City Hall
The
was
old
the
glazing.
same way.
That's what Ray was telling me, yeah, I never knew that. See, they didn't mention anything about lead paint here, Ray, is that not
They
a
didn't.
concern?
Well, they check for it.
They did check for
Yeah,
it? Oh.
so if it's not in, if they don't come up with it, then it's not there. I will tell you that part of the delay was that I did submit a request, a permit from DEQ, or the application, and they came back and said, well, you need to have the inspection as part of it. So I wasn't sure if they were gonna require it or not, based on the building and where it was located.
Any further discussion? Those need a motion to approve the payment, inspection, and demolition.
And you're confident we will get reimbursed?
I'm confident we're gonna get reimbursed. I'm not sure if we'll get 100% reimbursement. It all depends on what they're able to do with the price of the lots. So,
Okay.
good portion of it, but, over time with the increased taxes, with the houses going on, we'll come out
Gain
ahead.
from it.
Yeah, we'll come out ahead.
I'll make the motion for the demolition contract. Then do you want the other 2 already in there too, the asbestos?
Yeah, as a whole,
As a whole?
yeah.
Okay. Not to exceed $14,633.
Support.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes?
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Next on the agenda is approval of the Strawberry Lake MDNR Trust Fund Grant Design and Construction Engineering Services Proposal. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, again, about a month or so ago, we we were awarded the DNR grant for the Strawberry Lake project, and as part of that project, we have engineering requirements. I received a proposal from Coleman Engineering to handle the design and construction engineering for the project. They're the ones that walked us through and helped us through the grant process. So they're requesting on the project an engineering agreement of $52,200. It is part of the grant. You know, there's a 26% local share on this particular type of grant, but engineering costs are eligible within that, so it's all part of the total cost. Some of the MDOT grants that we get into, they'll do construction-only grants, you know, so engineering is above and beyond that. So it's kind of nice when we deal with agencies that also include the engineering within the grant.
And what was the total price on that grant, Ray?
The total grant was at 208, is it 289? I think it was 289, and the total project was, what, 400 or 380, something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was 26%.
Well, I'm sure we have to do it, but I have issues with, here it says, please note this proposed fee is less than 15% of the estimated construction, which is allowed. But I have issues, I don't understand why we have to pay so much for the engineering, like this materials testing, density testing. I mean, unless that says so in the grant itself, I mean, you dig the muck up for 2 or 3 or 4 feet, whatever it is, why do you have to have it tested? I mean, the last time they did it, it wasn't done, I'm not saying it wasn't done right, but how many years ago was it? And everybody knows what that trail is like now, and you can't dig down 20 feet, so it's gonna do one of these down the road.
Yep. To speak partially to that, I mean, Michigan DNR has some fairly stringent requirements on the engineering document that comes out of this and the oversight. You know, on the other coin of that, flip the coin here a little bit, as the engineer standing here, and to be very blunt, Carissa Roll would actually be in charge of this project, Coleman Engineering. So she's project manager of this, but I didn't even know it was on your agenda, frankly. I knew it was coming to you, I was thinking it was 2 weeks from now. But, you know, as the engineer, unless we have something like documented soils testing, things like that, you know, if we go in there and we build you a new path, rebuild it again, and it fails again, we have nothing to hang our hat on, you know. That worries me a great deal, and again, that is above and beyond the fact that DNR do require full contract documents, they require inspection, they require some reporting coming out of that as well.
So basically, we're getting the money from them, we've got to do exactly what they want.
Yeah, they have a very stringent plan approval process. You can't put shovel to ground until they have seen a full set of plans and a set of contract documents laying out exactly what you're gonna do. Here's your quality control, here's how you're gonna, all your materials, all that.
Well, I can understand it, but I still think it's ridiculous.
If there was a failure in the path again, would Coleman Engineering be on the hook for repairing it then?
I would say we're on the hook for you to yell at us about it.
What good does that do?
I don't like getting yelled at, it doesn't mean a lot of good.
I think that comes down to professional liability, you know, it depends on why it failed, you'd have to look at, was it a design problem or construction problem? Definitely would be part of the review of it. I do want to say, though, that the Strawberry Lake Trail was constructed in the mid-90s, correct? I think it was like 96.
I don't remember.
Yes,
And
95, I think.
I know that in dealing with different projects over the years into the 2000s and to today, that the requirements of subbase are much more stringent today than they were in the mid-90s. And I don't believe that that requirement, the subbase requirement, was as extensive back then. Because, I mean, you can just see it when you look at that path. And if it was, then there should have been a liability back to the design and or construction.
Yeah.
At that point, you know, because it really wasn't done correctly, you know, to have that much settlement. It's a rough area, but
And
still.
exactly, I mean, and that's part of engineering, I mean, we're taking the liability design. We will build you a quality path, and I will stand here and say that. I've been on that path, I've seen exactly what you're talking about, it's terrible in a lot of locations. You know, that's what construction oversight is for, and again, testing and things like that. For me to stand up here and say, we'll build you a quality path, repair these issues, that's the kind of items I need as an engineer.
In these specs, do they say how much you have to muck out or dig down? It's gotta be in there
I
someplace.
would say we're gonna do some drilling out there, at least in.
Because some of those places, you might go down 10, 14 feet, and,
And,
you know, which
I
would be
know
cost
that
prohibitive.
Might throw some fabric in there then at that
Well,
point.
yeah, the fabric, that's why,
Fabric works well.
this one there now, do they have fabric? Does anybody know?
No.
I don't believe there's any fabric in that.
There was a
I don't
debate
believe
at
any
the
of the
time.
plans have documentation of it. I know there's a couple of points, and obviously the worst of it, where there's obvious muck. We talked about, I was involved in this grant application 3 years ago when we originally tried for it. We talked about geogrid underneath it, or some type of a geotextile separator. That should be fine for 14 feet of muck that you can afford to remove on an 8-foot path.
Yeah, it's not like you got heavy vehicles on it.
No, exactly. You know, I'll speak to this, ninth over here, it's terrible base over there, and how that road sits on geogrid, which is what's under there.
But you can tell by looking at it. It's only a couple years old.
Oh, yeah. But it holds the road up. Railroad's got some fairly poor soil, it's not as bad, right near the end of Railroad and Main here. That's got geogrid under it for 800 feet, something like that. And it really depends on the situation. Geogrid, everybody wants to think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's a Band-Aid. I mean, what's the proper fix? It's digging it out, but you're not gonna dig out, again, 14 feet, bike path or walking trail.
Is this something that we're stuck with Coleman, or can we put this out to other engineering firms?
Well, it's your pleasure. I mean, we usually, you know, they
'Cause
help
I'm
us
not
out.
happy with
through-
some of the prices on there either.
Yeah, you know, they help us out with the grant applications and whatnot. So,
Do we pay them to help with the grant?
no.
We don't.
No, let me speak to that a little bit, and that's fully in your right, but we have done this grant application 3 times now. This is the 3rd year we applied, and we finally got awarded the project. As far as the 15%, I can tell you they are very engineering intensive projects, very similar to tennis court. We'll bring that rate up. They do take more than 15%. That's just how they work, and we have gotten used to that. We like doing these projects as a community project, really. We have a lot of employees in the city, we like to work with the city of Norway, and we like to do the project because of that. You know, they're nice community involvement things for us, but 15%, I do have to say, is not, it's not a lot of money for what has to happen to complete that project.
Any other discussion? Otherwise, we need a motion. I make a motion we approve the Strawberry Lake MDNR Trust Grant for design and construction with Coleman Engineering Services.
Want to put the price in there, Doc?
Is it 52,000? The engineering that we approved, $52,200, $52,200, not to exceed.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
No, I'd like to see other engineering firms involved.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes. That's tonight's agenda. Would anybody in the audience like to approach the podium and address the council at this time on any matter? If not, then Mr. Menegini, any comments?
I got a few questions and then a few comments. reading the paper the other day, this past year, our legislature passed over 200 bills. And I didn't look at all 200 of them, but as I glanced through it, there were 3 of them that kind of jumped out at me. And I hope Ray has the answer for a couple of them, and then one of them I got for Mr. Carlson. PA 421, House Bill 5113. Assist utilities, this bill was passed, assist utilities in collecting outstanding water and sewage fees. How's that going to help us, Ray?
In reviewing that particular bill, that they extended the lien capabilities of the municipality from 3 years to 5 years.
Oh, okay, so
we
that,
can go back 5 years instead of 3.
okay. The other question here, House Bill 6075. Where it is here, let's see. Requires participant in the public employees retirement system. That's our MERS. That's what caught my attention. To file annual reports with the Department of Treasury, and if the retirement system is not at least 60% funded, to provide information on their website on steps being taken to reduce the unfunded liability. What does that do for us?
That's mainly a reporting bill. What it's saying is that we get an actuarial done every year from MERS. And they tell us then what our contribution rate should be for the following year based on our UAL, unfunded liability. And if it's under 60%, then we're required to post all or some of that report. I can't imagine all of it because people would get lost in looking at that. There's a lot of information in those reports. Quite frankly, there's only really a couple sheets that are relevant with, dealing with our situation. But we're supposed to, Treasury is going to then post that on their webpage. And I'm not sure if it said we had to post it on ours as well.
I think it said we have to, and then if you're under the 60%, you have to, with that, you have to post your plan, basically, to
Right.
get you
And-
above the 60%.
And we've been working on that plan for years,
no, you've been
years,
working
and so
on it, okay.
it's not really anything different than what we're doing, it's just posting it out there.
Okay. And Mr. Carlson, here's another one that kind of jumped out at me. House Bill 4686. Allow municipalities to use the open and obvious defense to defend against sidewalk defect lawsuits. I mean, we got immunity right now, kind of, don't we, the 2-inch rule? What is this telling me?
Well, it's bolstering our immunity, frankly, Councilperson Menegini. The legislature and the courts over the course of the years have continued to limit citizens' access to the courts for recovery for torts or for product liability. There's really no product liability in Michigan anymore. I could talk for hours about how people's access to juries have been
Keep
limited
it to
with
2
torts.
minutes.
But because I'm paid hourly by the city, in essence, what they did in Michigan, slip and fall. If the defect or the issue or the condition is open and obvious, that's a defense. So if you personally were to be sued for something on your property and the condition was open and obvious, that you knew or should have known, or a reasonable person knew or should have known that the condition was there. Ice, right now, everybody's dealing with ice. Well, we live in the UP. So you knew or should have known that it was icy or was a dangerous condition. In this situation, they've now, it used to just be premises liability, now it's extended that immunity, if you will, or that extra protection for municipalities to sidewalks, and there's a presumption of maintaining the property and proper repair that can only be rebutted if you reference the 2-inch rule. But also, they've added a whole new level now of immunity or protections for municipalities that maintain sidewalks. And that's the whole, again, coming back to this open and obvious.
So
if somebody's walking along the sidewalk and they don't see the 2-inch or they don't see the defect, and it's open and obvious, that's just another layer of protection for the municipalities.
Okay, so 2 of these 3 are definitely good for us. Okay. Comments. Again, I try to mention things that are good that's happening in the community. I'd like to congratulate both the boys and girls basketball team. They're both ranked number 2 in the UP. The boys are ranked number 7 in the state. The girls are honorable mention. And I'm sure that's going to change after last week because they both won kind of big. And also like to congratulate the Norway Vulcan cheerleaders. They placed second in Division 4 down at the Escanaba Elks Cheer Invitational. And that's all I have.
Mrs. Brew,
I have nothing.
Mr. Pop?
I have nothing.
I had a couple of things. I already brought up the possibly cameras at Strawberry Lake. I'd like to put that on the agenda the next meeting, and possibly any other cameras. I had a nice tour of our police facilities by Chief Schaefer, and I asked him what the police department needs, and he said, well, we need a camera at Strawberry Lake. That's where we're having most of our vandalism. So I'd like to put that on the agenda again at the next meeting. And also for Mr. Anderson, we had a grant a number of years ago to put LED lights in for our street lights. And at the time, we were told that it was going to pay for itself, the loan that we took out to put in these LED lights. One, are we almost done with that loan? And two, is it still paying for itself?
I believe the loan is paying for itself quite a bit based on the return that we get off these LED lights. What was the term on that loan, Mary, off the top of my head? I think it was 10 years, wasn't
It
it?
was 10 years.
It was
when
10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was 0 at 10. I don't believe we're done yet.
So
I
we
think
got
it was
another 3 or 4 years to go.
Probably, yeah. I don't have that off the top of my head. But it is, we are receiving more than our benefit back on the cost of those.
Well, I guess I would just want to emphasize then that we go through all our facilities and change out any light bulbs to LED, because it's a big difference to everybody, and I'd encourage anybody out there watching to change their bulbs to LED. You'll save money. The city has done it so far.
Is there there might be some kind of grant for that, right, Ray, through WPPI?
There is, it's based on how long the ROI is and the cost of the project, so it's not just a bulb per bulb grant. They have to actually look and see how much energy you're saving and so on and so forth. I'm actually doing that for the city hall. I'm looking at, we're starting with the main offices, because those lights are on all day, and out in the lobby. We're gonna include the basement, but we're not quite sure based on the size of the project. And then, of course, the outside lights. So we're gonna be bringing that to you here shortly. You know,
Yeah, because I know
on
like
project.
through the school and that, we've done that before.
It is, especially for a facility or a business where the lights are on for any length of time, it's a big savings.
Well, so finally, the price of LED bulbs has come down significantly, so now would be the time for us to move if we weren't.
One thing I forgot, with this nice warmer weather we're having, there's got to be some runoff, so our hydro got to be doing good.
The hydro is doing well. Water's been actually steady. So, you know, Wade Dam, they've been sending their share flow. You know, so we've been running 3 out of 4 machines. It's been pretty. We've been pleased. So we haven't seen a spike. We saw a spike in December when we had some early December. We had some rains. We saw a spike, but you know, it's been pretty level.
And then speaking of the runoff, and I had talked to Ray before the meeting about this too. A lot of the roads are getting flooded and that, and we gotta get out there and do something because the storm sewers ain't taking this water in. And we're supposed to get some more bad weather.
Any comments from anybody on staff, Mr. Carlson or Mr. Anderson?
Well, I have nothing.
I'll just echo Mr. Menegini's comments about the community and the schools. I saw a email pushed out from Lou Steigerwald, and I wanted to congratulate the middle school teachers and students for their testing and their recognition for increased test scores statewide. Nice job to the teachers and students and staff.
No other comments? We need a motion to be adjourned.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes. So I keep this in hand.